Okay, awesome. How are you?
I'm good, sir. How are
First
you
of all,
doing?
excited. Your team has been chasing me for quite some time now, and
Yes, sir.
I've not been able to get back to you. But good that we are doing this interview today.
Yes, sir. Okay, so good afternoon, sir.
Sure.
Welcome to the second episode of Entrepreneur Speaks. And just
Mhm.
to introduce, today we have with us Ankit Aggarwal, who is an alumni of IMT Ghaziabad and founder and CEO of Dare2Compete. Before starting Dare2Compete, he went on to work with industry giants like Sapient, Deloitte, Salesforce. And he's also one of the few people who have been awarded 100% scholarship for Harvard Business School for one of the coveted leadership programs. We are delighted to have you, sir. And beginning
Thank
off
you.
with the
Thank you so
first
much.
question. So, sir, tell us about Dare2Compete and what motivated you to leave that corporate career and start Dare2Compete.
So, just a little bit of background about Dare to Compete. So, I started Dare to Compete as a blog when I was at IMT itself. So, I opted out of my summer placement, so to say, to start this blog. Why I started this blog on competitions was primarily because I was really interested in participating in competitions or quizzes and all. But soon I realized that the information is not reaching us because there is no common platform as such. So I thought, out of pure passion, I started a blog that sort of took shape in form of a dedicated company, a dedicated team working with it in 2016. During the period when I passed out and 2016, I was sort of managing the blog as articles or so on a part-time basis as per my full-time salary thing. The only thing is that when I realized that there is a whole market which is getting created by Dare to Compete, which falls under the umbrella of employer branding, that's a point when I actually took a call that yes, let's go ahead and dedicate myself completely to Dare to Compete, because then I started realizing that yes, the revenues are coming in, which is actually more than what I'm earning in a job. So that was, I think, the trigger point for me to get on with Dare to Compete as a full-time venture in 2016, late 2016.
So, sir, as a being an entrepreneur yourself, so what do you think the few strategies that the new upcoming entrepreneurs should follow to start to have a feasible startup idea?
See, there is no one strategy that suits all. My only advice will be that if you think your idea is good enough, if you think that there is a market, after doing a thorough research, you should directly jump into it. Because if you're talking to 10 people, 8 might say that this is not a good idea. They may or may not be attached to that industry. The two other guys who would say yes might be the ones who would have actually taken a look at that idea, or they may have certain thoughts which may come handy to you. So my only thing is that if you've done a thorough research, just go ahead and launch a venture to get that idea up and running. Don't look at money as the primary motive. Look at the problem and the solution as the primary motive. Because if you look at money, and if you think through that, hey, I will go into a venture only if I'm able to make 5 crores or 10 crores or 100 crores. Now what happens is that threshold is very, very different for different kind of people, and different people at different point in time in their career journey. So just to give you an example, let's say an entrepreneur like Mukesh Ambani won't even get into a venture when it is not less than $500 million or $1 billion, right? Whereas a person like us, they may get into a new venture even if they say even if they feel that, hey, we'll be able to get a revenue which is more than which is into early million of dollars, maybe 10, 25 or so. And there will be definitely small other entrepreneurs who might want to get into a business only even if the revenue that they look at is less than $1 million as well. So you will find people at different levels who would want to jump into their entrepreneurial venture, keeping those money elements into account. Okay. However, what happens is, and I've seen that happening with majority of the entrepreneurs that I'm in touch with, they get into a venture with only one or two use cases of that particular idea. As you start your own venture, you get into multiple use cases which uh, multiply your revenue streams. And the same actually happened with Dare to Compete. Earlier, we went into this market keeping in mind that, hey, we will be organizing competitions for corporates, and primarily that will be our bread and butter and the revenue source, right? We have expanded into new areas in the same bucket itself. So earlier, we were only doing competitions which are online. Then we expanded into the end-to-end execution, which is not only online, but the offline execution as well. Then we went into a thought partnership model where we were working with them as an consultant to map out their whole campus footprint across the year. Now we have already gone into the hiring thing as well. So we have launched our hiring portal, which is again connected to the whole scheme of employer branding. And similarly, we are expanding our base to one, diversify into different areas, and to get the maximum pocket share of that particular stakeholder, which we call the owner of the employer brand, which majorly it is the HRs of the big companies. So yes, I mean, my only advice is just get into this after doing some sort of data analysis. So it should be a mix of your gut as well as data, not only your gut.
Yeah. So it's more about finding more and more use cases than just going for the money.
I
So
would say so. Yes.
yeah. So the second question is, during this situation, what do you think the few industries where we can get the big startup ideas? Because in 2010 also when we had recession, we had WhatsApp, we had Ola coming up. So what do you think? Which industry will boom in the next few years?
I think one definite industry will be e-commerce and logistics. I see their penetration maybe doubling or tripling pan India at a much faster rate. I was doing, I mean, I was reading this article which said that in the developed market as well, like US, the penetration of e-commerce was only 10%, and that penetration came to 10% in about a decade. But that penetration has increased from 10% to 20% in last 4 to 5 months itself, only because of COVID. So I think anything which is attached to e-commerce will be a big boom, whether it is logistics, whether it is e-commerce as such, or it is very niche markets like e-commerce in furniture or maybe books and all. Okay.
Yeah.
The second thing is, I think there is still some sort of now innovation that may happen when we talk about tourism. It might be a virtual tourism as well, because tourism has taken a massive hit, right? But I believe that in the shorter run, the revenues will be down by maybe 90% or 95% as well. But eventually, there needs to be some or the other innovation coming in, which basically ensures that that whole segment of tourism and all actually scales up. Okay, how, I don't have really an answer, but maybe that's a problem to be solved. Correct. The third is obviously online education, the online webinar. So all these tools existed earlier as well, the webinars, the Google Meet and all. What COVID has done is that they have put all these tools into limelight. Okay. Now, whether that was a missed opportunity earlier, or this is just for the timing and people will go on to the on-ground meetings, in-person meetings or so, I have no clue. But definitely there'll be more virtual meetings. I can see that, right? Now, when that is happening, obviously the online interactions with the industry leaders for B schools will also increase, because there will be non-essential travel, and the B school interactions at this point in time comes into that support function. It's not the core business. So whenever there is a hit in any business, the support functions take the cut. Okay. uh, how the interactions will make value, like the one that we are doing. Okay. Or the online education, which is online courses or so. Now, I personally believe that there is no replacement for in-person classes. classroom kind of training, wherein professor teaches you, you do discussions with your friends or so. I haven't seen even one clear example of anything which replaces it 100%. Okay, because I know for a fact that in a B school the best thing that you can gain is the kind of experience that you do when you have discussions with your peers, with your professors on very different elements, because at the same point in time you're actually getting multiple vantage points. So if 10 people are discussing, everybody will be from different backgrounds and everybody will be making different points, and that's what helps you make notice of different elements of those use cases. Now, in an online medium, I have seen uh, that kind of an impact not really happening. It is basically one, it is either online courses which you can do it at a self-paced courses, or there might be interaction that you may have with one of the industry leaders, but you don't have those discussions with the peer group at a length that we used to have in our hostels and our classrooms or so. That is yet to be seen as to how an online course can add a value which is very similar to what we get on ground in person in classrooms. So that is one area. Definitely the online edtech per se industry is booming, but within that industry itself, we need to basically see how it is more thought provoking. That's the element which is missing in the online courses or online learning. Yeah.
So, sir, do you think that if we switch towards more virtual classes, if it will be there, so will it affect the case competition that the company might be giving, because we won't be able to interact with our colleagues, with our faculties that frequently, which we used to in the offline world?
Personally, I think given that the classes will be happening virtually, I think I was talking to few students as to with the HRs as well. There'll actually be more competitions. One, why there'll be more competitions, because now the companies and all won't be coming in person, and then the interactions which happen will be through case study competition or some other gamified engagement or so, which basically ensures that students are learning how the company is working. That's one. And second, it gives them an exposure of what they will be doing when they work for this particular company and how big the company is. Okay, coming to the participation aspect of it, which becomes the quality, whether you'll be able to do those discussions. I think you will be able to do those discussions. uh, but then again, like we are having a discussion, you'll be able to do those discussions virtually when you sit down and you don't have a time bound mechanism. You basically come on Zoom or Google Meet or Microsoft Teams, and you basically discuss only that case at length. Okay. When I said earlier that the online edtech industry need to think through all these cases, because whatever courses I've seen, I've not seen these kind of discussions coming to the limelight in those courses during their curriculum. If you're doing it online, when it is sort of case study, you already have a team, you know these two members in and out, the guys that you are basically talking with, right? Now, to do much more detailed discussion, you can always pick up a call and sort of do those discussions, right? But in a classroom setting, when there are 50 or 60 people, how do we discuss those things with different aspects, with different people? I've not seen the same kind of impact. But for the case study competitions, if it is restricted to only 3 or 4 people, I think you can still have those discussions really well.
Yeah. And so, considering your company, what do you think? What are your future plans for Dare to Compete after the COVID-19 situation?
I mean, it's not only after, it's general as well. So it is not only us, but many people have now started realizing that they need to diversify. Okay, they cannot have one single product or a use case. So we are expanding into multiple use cases. We are expanding into multiple markets. But given our core is gamification, what we are looking at doing is every aspect of gamification. Can we use that in internal learning in campuses? Can professors use our games, simulation games, right? Can HRs use our simulation games or hackathons or other assessments for hiring needs? Then HRs are currently using it for competitions itself, right? We are also working on a unified recruitment platform where the recruiters and the students can come on a common platform, because then that again is a problem to be solved. Now there will be many few HR, at least for this academic year, that will come, or companies for that matter, that will come and recruit or interview students in person, at least for summers in B schools, and definitely for hiring in IITs and all, because their hiring actually happens in August, September or so. So how do they do it virtually? That is something that we are also thinking through. Maybe that's a problem to be solved by Dare2Compete or like Scout.
Yeah. So, and considering your 2 years at IMT Ghaziabad, you might have many
Mhm.
memories, but any particular specific memory that helped you in the startup journey that the new entrepreneur can also develop from IMT?
I think friends. I would say that whenever you want to start up something, you are
Mhm.
a lone warrior, and I was one, right? What gave me a sense that yes, I can do it is a push from my friends itself, that hey, if you really want to try it out, just try it out right now rather than anywhere else, right? So I have those friends which were in that lobby, my C lobby or the hostel. I can actually go to any room, talk to one of the friends that hey, I'm thinking through this. What are your thoughts on this? And then I remember they have multiple discussions, either during breakfast, lunch, or just randomly when I was in their rooms or so on. One, the name, how Dare2Compete, the name came into existence, right? We bounced on maybe 1,000, 2,000 names or so, and then we came up with Dare2Compete as a name. Then what should be our first go-to-market strategy? Now, when you're the lone warrior, you need people whom you can thought partner with. I think the friend circle that you have in a B school is something that you should cherish over your lifetime. Your networking, your discussions. I mean, there is no substitute for all these things. There is none. Even if I say there is online MBA, if you were not to do any residential MBA or a 2 year full time course, I don't see these values coming in any of those courses.
And here is where the batch strength really plays an important role. When you have a huge batch strength, you have huge amount of friends too.
Exactly. Yeah.
So the last question: any message for the future entrepreneurs of IMT?
Oh, I think when I was at IMT, I did speak about this statement, and there was a question from the audience that what should we do? And my only response was that figure out whether you want to run a 100-meter race or a marathon. That's up to you. But my only thing is that start now and do it as if there is no tomorrow.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you so much for giving us time. We were
Thank
really
you, Prashant.
delighted to have you
Thank
here. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
you. That was all mine. Thanks, Prashant. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.